Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Will He Edit, the review show that sees whether or not my dog Pochi is willing to eat the food I put down in front of him. My name is Yule, and in addition, we're going to be reading a comic. The comic we are reading today is Grimjack, a backup story in Starslayer number 17. The entire book, main and backup story, were written by John Ostrander and drawn by Tim Truman. This comic book came out in 1984 from First Comics and originally cost $1. If you looked at an Overstreet price guide from today, in near mint condition, you would have to pay $3 in order to get it. There are no other prices for any other conditions. $3. John Ostrander has been working in comics since all the way back in the early 1980s. He's worked for a number of companies. Obviously, he's worked for First Comics, but he's also had stints over at Marvel and over at DC. And at DC, that's probably where his most famous creation came from, a reimagining of the original Suicide Squad into a new team led by Amanda Waller and a whole bunch of villains. In 1983, John Ostrander and Timothy Truman worked on Grimjack as a backup story in Starslayer number 10 for the very first time. Before that, Truman was working as a staff illustrator for TSR, a role-playing game company that made Dungeons & Dragons. He also worked for other companies that put out Rifts and Vampire the Masquerade. Really good illustrations in the vampire stuff. You should check those out. He did some independent titles like Scout. There were actually a few Scouts there, if I'm not mistaken. He also worked on Grimjack, obviously, and eventually became the main penciler in Starslayer. That is until Grimjack's success overtook Starslayer and warranted it needing a new title, and then Tim Truman went over there. That ran for 81 issues, but Truman left, I can't remember, like 20, 30 issues in. It was a pretty good long run where he eventually goes over to work at DC, doing miniseries of Jonah Hex written by Joe R. Lansdale. He also did Hawkworld, I think all by himself, writing and art. And he's been a illustrator that's been working in the business ever since and is still going strong. So, Pochi's been walked. He's actually outside in the back doing his business. And he's ready to eat, so let's go on in the kitchen and we'll read this awesome comic and see if he'll eat this food I got for him. Alright everybody, we are back. Today we are going to give Pochi avoderm. This says it has grain-free beef is the first ingredient. And sure enough, it says beef, beef broth, beef liver, all sorts of stuff. Pochi's had some before, but this will be like a second day to see if he'll eat it. I've already cleaned out the dish, and that is what the pate looks like when I spread it out. Put some dry food, Grimjack, in this. I'm going to stir it around, and then we're going to get Pochi from outside and see if he'll eat it. All that, and we're going to read a comic book too, so stick around. Alright everybody, this is going to be take 2 as we see if Pochi is willing to eat this food. I don't know if he is, because he didn't earlier, but he's not having such a good time with his hips. So I got myself, for him, from the weed store, some Fiori Friend, and it's bacon flavored. So I tested on a piece of normal food, and I'm just going to put a little droppers full on the food, and hopefully I'm not wasting it, because we want his hips to feel better also. So it's a double review. We're only going to read one story, still the Grimjack, but let me get Pochi in here. I'm going to bring him on in, and we're going to see if he's willing to eat this. So hold on one moment, and we're going to try it one more time. All right, everybody, we're back. There's Pochi. Dropped some food on the ground, so of course he's eating it there. You can see he's having a hard time getting around. I dosed his food, so if he eats it, he will be tasting a bacon flavor on top of the beef. I really wish he'd just start eating the food. Oh, there he goes. He drops it. He eats it. Come on, out of the bowl, because that's where all the expensive stuff is. All right. So there's Pochi, eating. Eating. Do you want me to pour it out for you? What do you got? All right, change position of the pictures. Pochi's not eating on the mat, so of course he wants to make this hard for me. Let's see if we can do it this way. Okay, great. Let me just move back a little bit more. There he is. He's eating food, everybody. I can't believe it. I don't know if the THC flavored, bacon flavored THC made a difference, but here we are, eating. And we open with John Gaunt, the grimjack, sitting in Munden's bar, listening to these cute little creatures petitioning him for help. You see, he's a mercenary. This guy here, Bob the Lizard, though, he ain't one of them. This little guy here, that guy's name is General Anarchy. And you gotta say it that way because you see, he's a pirate. You see, he's a pirate. Anyway, these guys are pleading for help. And Grimjack's like, alright, against his better judgment, he's gonna do it. So the next day he goes to their planet. And he's gonna teach them, he's gonna train them in the ways of war. And these guys, they're, let's just say, it doesn't go so well. Eventually, the people that they're looking to get aid from Grimjack to go against show up. And he's going to go do a little scouting, a little I can't even say the word, reconnaissance, to see what he's up against. And, well, when he does, let's just say, these guys, they don't look so nice. They're just big, giant bunnies called lupus. Look at that guy. He has an eye patch. I mean, that's just, bunnies with eye patches and guns. I mean, these things are scary looking. It's then that the moon decides that it's going to help out and going to shed some light on this situation, which of course alerts the lupus to their presence, and they start shooting. Grimjack and the other critters barely get away with their lives. And then here he is sending Bob the Lizard back home to go petition, or to get some help from a fellow friend, mercenary. This guy here, Blackjack Mac. And Blackjack Mac, when he hears what he needs to get done, he's like, no, I ain't killing no bunnies. And Grimjack's all... He blackmails Blackjack, saying, does Goddess know about Aretha over on Mostar? And Blackjack's all, damn, you play dirty these days. So Grimjack and Blackjack Mac and all the cute little critters set up a defense and wait for the lupos. And when they show up, Grimjack gives the order to fire. And the battle ensues. And there's death. There's lots of death. There's lots and lots of death. And when all is said and done, most of the cuties are killed. But all the lupos are dead. And the only thing left now is payment. And General Anarchy, he gives Grimjack all the money that these little guys have in the whole world. But when Grimjack gets the money, he squeezes it and realizes, oh my goodness, this money is, it's alive. And it's like, oh, you won't spend me, will you? We're going to be great friends. Please don't tell me you're going to just give me to anybody. But of course, Grimjack graciously gives back the money because it can't stand it. And what's he going to do with it anyway, right? And he hitches a ride back with Blackjack, who lets Grimjack know that he's still going to have to pay him for the help that he's given. And of course, you know, Grimjack's like, of course. This was a fun little story. It was the last Grimjack story in the back of Star Slayer. Are you okay, Poach? No, that's not food. That's your chain. Or your collar. Let's try it this way now. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? You gotta collect my thoughts now. Poach, you don't have to leave yet. You can come back over here. So anyway, that was a fun little story. Grimjack is typically a more dark and adventurous type book. In the next issue of Star Slayer, he's going to be a guest star in it, and then after that, he's going to get his own book. So this light-hearted story was a nice way to send the very dark, mercenary character of Grimjack off to his new title, which is going to be more of the same. So this light little story, this fun little story, is a nice juxtaposition to the books that are going to come. And I like this one. I've read this a number of times. Star Slayer was a really fun book. When Grimjack, or I should say really when Tim Truman took over the book, it was quite the revelation for a kid at the time. There was a lot of great independents that were being put out by Pacific Comics and First and Eclipse. I think Eclipse counts as a smaller independent title. And, you know, not everything was Marvel and DC at the time. There were Turtles coming about, and radioactive black belt adolescent hamsters, if I got those in the right order. Alright, Poachy, we're not locked in. I'm gonna let you out. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy my dog, or just feel sorry for him, do us all a favor and like the video. And if you haven't, subscribe to the video. And if you haven't, hit the notification so you can know when we're going to do it. Because Poachy's not always into it. So when we get these out, I'm never sure for sure. But thanks everybody for watching. And I hope you enjoyed it. Check out Star Slayer. Check out Grimjack. They're not all very much in print, but they are pretty cheap. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.